For offense right now, I would say it's going pretty good. Just trying to pretty much create some depth up front on the O-line and just trying to see where we at receiver-wise. Those were the two main position groups coming into the fall that we need to kind of identify. And then one of the guys that's standing out probably the most would probably be DC, Darius Copeland, that's making a ton of plays for us right now.
Defensively, I think we're at a point now we have a lot of competitive depth at every position, so there's a lot of competition everywhere you look, and guys are fighting and battling every single day for it. At the start of camp, we kind of ask them, what do you guys want our defense to be about, and let them name it off. And then so that's our standard every day, and we'll bring it up with them and say, hey, we're not being competitive today, we're not being tough today as you guys want to be, but by them naming what the standard is, now we can hold them accountable to it. That creates that ownership, and they've done a really good job. They've worked really hard to meet that every single day.
For both sides of the ball, who are some guys that are stepping up as leaders, especially on the O-line, because you had Xavier Gatlin out, not coming back. It's like that was a huge leader on the offense.
Yeah. Right now, the two guys that's probably stepping up the most is probably be K-Salt and Cooley. Jordan, Jay White, he don't say as much, but he kind of leads by example. But as ones that's being more vocal, would be Cooley and K-Salt. They're doing more. We kind of ask them to do more because those are two people that are typically not the most vocal people, especially Cooley. It's like pulling teeth to get him to talk. So now he's got to take on the role of actually getting the guys together. And when we're having a bad day or a rough day, he's got to be the one that's talking to the offense. So those have been the two that's been stepping up the most as far as taking over that leadership role.
The defensive side, one of the things last year is I think a lot of guys had to play a lot of snaps, right? And now when you've got Vizell preseason accolades out there, but then you got a guy like Bryson Jennings as well. I'm seeing those two kind of rotate, I think, with the ones the other day. How much of a luxury is that, and how do you feel about the depth that you're starting to establish?
Well, I think it's huge. I mean, towards the end of the year, I think we did start to wear down a little bit because guys are playing so many snaps, and that was, one of the emphasis of the first meeting that we had is we got to be selfless, because what's best for me as an individual is to play 50 snaps, but what's best for the team may be me playing 25, right? And that way, those last 15 or so reps, I'm really fresh. So it is a luxury, and they're earning their spots every single day. The depth chart's changing every single day based on how they produce and how they practice, and they know if I'm not running the ball, the next guy behind me will. And that's huge for us in terms of setting a culture, setting a standard of how we want to play defense.
A lot of new faces at the linebacker spot this year. How have they kind of meshed to this point?
They've really done a good job. They are new, but they're not inexperienced. I mean, we got a bunch of guys that have played a lot of snaps, which is a positive. They've been around a lot of different things and a lot of different schemes. They've worked really, really hard to learn, how we do things and what we call things and translate it into their own minds. But the linebacker room is highly competitive, and we got a bunch of guys that are playing really, really hard and really well.
You mentioned Darius Copeland as somebody who stood out. Chadwell said the same thing the other day, and so did Caden Salter. What is it that makes him stand out? Is it speed? Is it just kind of his ability to adapt to the offense? What makes him kind of look so
it's a little bit of everything. He's one, I saw you guys mention the AB role. He's one that can kind of play the role that AB played last year. You can line him up in the backfield, set him on a bunch of different motions. He can run the entire route tree. He's extremely smart. He's catching a lot of contested catches. He's making a lot of difficult catches, diving for balls. He's just making plays all over the field than the same role that AB played last year. So, it's more the fact that he's so dynamic and you can use him in a bunch of different spots and he still be pretty effective.
And then at running back, obviously, you have Quentin Cooley, who had a great season last year. Vaughn Blue, somebody who got hurt last year and is going to be coming back. You have a lot of running backs who are going to need the ball. Billy Lucas played well. How do you kind of spread the wealth there, knowing that you have somebody like Cooley who you can lean on kind of in late games?
Yeah, you said that what Cooley just walked into, so now I got to watch what I say. But no, Cooley's the guy. He's going to be the main guy for us as far as that B-back role. Missing Vaughn last year hurt us a little bit, but he's going to kind of play that A-back role. So we're more of a two-back offense, so you're going to see those two backs. You'll see Cooley and Vaughn go out first, and then Billy will come in to kind of give Cooley that break, a few drives here and there. And then you'll see DC and you'll see Juju being able to spell Vaughn and give him a different picture too as well, give him a break or two as well, so you can see him do a bunch of different stuff that AB did last year. So that's going to be their rotation.
Sorry. You got Vaughn back towards the end of last year. How has he looked this year coming into year two?
He looks the same. I mean, he's still super explosive, super twitchy. We just got to be careful with him. Just can't have him down for loose balls in practices and doing stuff like that hurt him last year. But he looks good, man. He's doing everything that he's been doing up until that point. So we just got to make sure we do our job and keep him healthy.
When you mentioned that Caden Salter and Quentin Cooley have become vocal leaders, but it's not natural maybe for them to do that, what steps have you as a coaching staff taken to help them grow into being more vocal leaders?
Those have been two guys that we kind of pull aside and just talk to them and tell them that you have to take this role. Like, you have to do this. If we don't do this, if you guys don't do it, then we're not going to be as successful on offense. So it's literally been pulling those guys aside, especially me and Cooley. I pull Cooley aside after meetings and say, hey, we need you to take this role. You have to be the vocal guy, even more than Salt, because Salt really don't like to talk that much. So it has to be Cooley that has to be that guy. So you literally just have to pull him aside and talk to him and say, we need it, or we're not going to be very effective on offense.
Does that kind of go both ways for them in terms of knowing when to be vocal to praise guys and also being okay pointing out things that their teammates can do better?
Say it again.
Yeah, as far as getting guys aligned, getting them to do their job responsibly, how much more of an emphasis on the vocal leadership part is being able to do both of those?
Huge emphasis. I mean, that's what they got to do. I mean, that's what we're counting on them to do. That's what's expected of them to be able to do.
This offense hit historic heights last year, and we were at a quarterback. This time last year, we were in a quarterback battle. What's the ceiling for what this offense can do this season, and how do you manage those expectations within the coaching staff and within the players?
I don't really know if we really put a ceiling on it. The message has been each day, just come out here and pursue and be your best. Whatever that ceiling may be, we're going to do everything we can to reach it. But we don't talk about, hey, you got to reach this amount of yards, you got to reach this. Just the word for us has been pursue, so we're just trying to pursue the best. And whatever the best looks like, we're okay with it. So that's been the message to the entire offense, to the entire team all fall camp.
When you mentioned the defensive side of the ball in terms of guys listing out what their goals are and then being able to circle back to that, either we're doing this right or we're not doing that, how much of that's just the natural transition of guys having a year in the system and therefore knowing what they should do and elevating their expectations and accountability?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, it starts with how do we do things? And that's what we really want to hold them accountable to. Are we being competitive? Are we being tough? Are we being physical? Are we being relentless? In terms of schematically, they've been able to handle a lot of stuff that we've thrown at them, far more than we did last year. So the second year, Comfort, we have a bunch of guys back that have played a lot of snaps, and the guys that haven't have worked super hard. I mean, they're in here on their own. I mean, I'll come up here on a Sunday with my kids and go play in the indoor, and I'll walk up to my office and we'll have guys in there watching tape on their own, studying on their own, calling and asking questions. And that kind of accountability, that kind of desire, that pursuit of greatness has been really, really fun to be around.
Who are some guys on the defensive side who have maybe impressed you? I mean, obviously we know guys from last year, but some new faces that have impressed you and that filling that leadership role as well.
Yeah, I mean, Q's a great leader. Joseph Carter's a phenomenal leader. We're challenging Bryce Dixon and TJ Bush and CJ to lead. And we have a bunch of guys at every position that have really taken charge and are trying to hold our players accountable. And it's a battle. It's hard to tell your peer, your friend, that ain't good enough. That's a really difficult thing for anybody to do, let alone a 21-year-old, 20-year-old kind of human being to do it. So, same thing, you got to pull them aside and say, listen, you tell them that's a great job, you tell them that's a bad job. It's business. We love each other. It's not personal, but this is what we expect, and this is what we need to be our best.